If the summer of 2017 winds up with its own moniker, it could well be the summer of Trump. If you missed just one day, you missed a lot.
That's the way it is.
Donald Trump managed to make himself the story nearly every day as major significant news unfolded around him.
Why did you fire Director Comey?
The ball started rolling on Russia in May when Trump unceremoniously fired the head of the FBI, James Comey.
Very simply, he was not doing a good job.
Word was he was trying to widen the investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 campaign, start looking into Trump's business connections. Trump didn't like it. Comey was gracious. I have long believed that a president can fire an FBI director for any reason or for no reason at all. I'm not going to spend time on the decision or the way it was executed. I hope you won't either. Trump said he fired Comey at the recommendation of his attorney general, but soon changed his tune.
I was going to fire Comey. My decision. It was not...
You had made the decision before they came in.
I was going to fire Comey.
That move kicked off months of revelations, White House leaks, and surprising admissions on the Russia file. Among them, Trump revealed highly classified information to the Russian foreign minister and ambassador. After weeks of negative news coverage over the Comey firing, even speculation about whether it was an impeachable move, Donald Trump Jr. gave an interview. One assumes his goal was to help his father. Instead, he wound up confirming Comey's version of events.
Hey, I hope this happens, but you got to do your job. That's what he told Comey.
Saying his father had indeed told Comey in private that he hoped Comey would stop the agency's investigation of his national security advisor, Michael Flynn, a major conflict of interest by Trump. A month later, Donald Jr. was at it again, releasing emails showing he welcomed the help of a Russian government attorney in derailing the Clinton campaign. Russia's ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, reported to his bosses in Moscow that he talked about the 2016 Republican campaign with Jeff Sessions, now the U.S. Attorney General, something Sessions had denied under oath.
Let me state this clearly, colleagues. I have never met with or had any conversation with any Russians or any foreign officials concerning any type of interference with any campaign or election in the United States.
The Justice Department's special counsel, Robert Mueller, impaneled a grand jury to investigate the alleged Russian interference. In the coming weeks, Manafort, Kushner, and Donald Jr. are expected to be summoned for questioning.
Okay. I don't really think it is having any effect at all on Trump supporters, at least not the core of his supporters. For the most part, Americans don't care a lot about the rest of the world unless it's actually impinging on them. And I think the complexities of this kind of intervention in the election have so far eluded them.
Trump's summer war of words with North Korea began after Pyongyang boasted on July 4th of all dates it successfully test-launched a nuclear-capable intercontinental ballistic missile that could reach the continental U.S. 3 weeks later, it tested a second one. Trump responded in typical Trump fashion.
We'll handle North Korea. We're going to be able to handle it. It will be handled.
But the vague platitudes did not last.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
The world had not heard such language from a U.S. president since the Second World War. And the next day, North Korea threatened to hit the U.S. territory of Guam. The world worried as Trump upped the ante again. Military solutions are now fully in place, locked and loaded. North Korea appeared to back down on its Guam threat, but 2 weeks later, launched a missile that flew over Japan, prompting a statement from Trump that all options are on the table. Clearly, that didn't deter. Just days later, North Korea carried out its sixth and most powerful nuclear test ever. And Trump blamed China and South Korea for failing to get North Korea under control.
You will not replace us!
Trump was initially far less concerned with attacks happening right in his own country. A mid-August Unite the Right rally, complete with torches and white hoods, put blatant hate and racism on full display. And it turned deadly when a white nationalist drove his car into a crowd of counter-protesters. Trump called a news conference later that day to say this:
"We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides."
Have you denounced them strongly enough?
Pressed by reporters, Trump refused to specifically condemn the neo-Nazis, the Ku Klux Klan, or any of the other hate groups that had organized the rally.
Look at the campaign he ran. I mean, look at the intentional courting, both on the one hand of all these white supremacist, white nationalist group like that, and then look on the other hand, the repeated failure to step up, condemn, denounce, silence, put to bed all those different efforts, just like we saw yesterday. I mean, this is not hard.
It took 2 days before Trump would cave to growing fury from as many of his supporters as detractors over his lack of clear condemnation of hate. He read a prepared statement.
"Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans."
As some let out a sigh of relief, others held their breath for what they felt was inevitable. They were right. It came just 24 hours later.
I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
The former head of the KKK couldn't contain himself. Thank you, President Trump, for your honesty and courage to tell the truth about Charlottesville and condemn the leftist terrorists.
I think this is something that could haunt him because it has made a number of people who weren't suspicious of that part of him before, even though there were indications of it in the campaign, that he was so clueless about what the implications of this are and how dangerous that kind of tendency in American politics is.
It didn't take long for prominent business leaders to abandon his 2 economic councils like lemmings, forcing Trump to disband them altogether. But Trump himself has not blinked in the face of being called racist and anti-Semitic. Outward turmoil often belies problems at home, and Trump's White House was no exception this summer. In the space of 30 days, 4 of the president's top advisors would be gone. Mid-July, Anthony Scaramucci was named White House Director of Communications. Known as the Mooch, he started his job the next day, prompting Trump's press secretary, Sean Spicer, to quit. SNL fans would perhaps miss him most. A week later, it was Trump's chief of staff who was out. Reince Priebus was replaced by retired Marine Corps General Kelly, who'd been running the Department of Homeland Security. And following one of the greatest jaw-droppers of an interview ever, so filled with profanity that it was tough to even quote him in print, the Mooch, yeah, the guy hired just 10 days earlier, was spinning out the revolving door too. And still that wasn't the end. In the wake of the hate and ugliness of Charlottesville, one of Trump's chief strategists and darling of white nationalists and anti-Semites alike, Steve Bannon, resigned, was fired. Who knew? It didn't matter.
We've had other presidents who have taken some time to put together the right staff, but the kind of infighting that's been going on, its real impact is his inconsistency and the inconsistency of the policies coming out of the executive branch.